Okay, so this is your homework. We're combining two-step equation and also combining like terms to solve each equation. We're going to do rows 4 and 7. So I'm going to go ahead and move over to a piece of paper where it's easier to see. But remember, rows 4 and 7. Okay, so row 4, we're going to do the first one. 1/2 x plus 1/2 x equals 4. Okay, 1/2 with plus 1/2 I know is 1. So 1/2 plus 1/2 is 1x equals 4. Hey, 1x equals 4 is the same thing as x equals 4. And that is your answer. That was an easy one. X equals 4. Now to check your work, I can do 1/2 times 4. I'm just plugging that 4 in wherever x was, plus 1/2 times 4 equals 4. So 1/2 of 4 is 2, so that's pretty much 2 plus 2 equals 4. And 2 plus 2 is 4. 4 equals 4. And yeah, we did the right work. Okay, that was the first one. Let me erase this. I'm just going to clean this up a little. Move on to the next one. Next one is 3/4 y minus 1/4 y equals 5. I'm going to draw my line here. Now I know that I have to combine these like terms on the left-hand side, so 3/4 y minus 1/4 y, and since they both have the same common denominator, I can just subtract 3 minus 1, and that's 2/4 y equals 5. Now I can reduce that fraction, that 2/4 y. I'm going to move my y over. So I know that 2/4 is just 1/2, so I'm going to reduce it to 1/2 y. Okay, so 1/2 y equals 5. Now I'm going to divide both sides by 1/2. Left is going to cancel out to make a 1, and I don't have to put that invisible 1, so I have y equals, so now I have 5 divided by 1/2, which is 10. And that is your answer. Next one. 4/3n, 4/3 n, minus 1/3 n equals 1. Once again, draw my line, my barrier there. I have to combine these like terms right here on the left. So I have 4/3 minus 1/3. So 4 minus 1 is 3. So I have 3/3n equals 1. And plug into your calculator 3 divided by 3. And this should be 1, sorry, I don't know why I said n, equals 1. So 3 divided by 3 is just 1. So we have 1n equals 1, which we know we don't have to write 1 in. We just have n equals 1. And that is our answer. Next one. 7/8 x minus 1/8 x equals 2. I'm going to draw my divider here. So 7/8 minus 1/8, they have the same common denominator, so just going to subtract them. 7 minus 1 is 6, so I have 6/8 x equals 2. And I can reduce that 6/8 by dividing both of those by 2, so I have 3/4 x equals 2. I'm going to divide both sides by 3/4. These will become invisible 1, so I'm just going to write x equals, I'm going to plug into my calculator, 2 divided by 3/4. Probably you'll get something like 8/3, or you might even get 2.67. I'm going to round to 7. And there you go. So now we are on to row 7. We have 2y plus y minus 1/2 equals 5 1/2. Whoa, a lot there. A lot. Okay, so now I'm going to draw my barrier here, and I'm going to check on both sides, and I'm going to see that here on the left I have some like terms that I can combine to clean it up. And I'm going to also put my invisible 1 in front of that y. So I have 2y plus 1y. That's 3y. Minus 1/2 equals 5 1/2. Now remember, we deal with the number that's all alone first. We deal with the number that's with the variable, the letter, last. So here, instead of minus 1/2, I'm going to add 1/2 to both sides, and those will cancel out and become 0. So now I have 3y equals, I have 5 1/2 plus 1/2, and that's 6. Now I have 3y, or 3 times y, equals 6, and the opposite of multiply is divide. So I'm going to divide both of them by 3, and those become invisible 1. I have y equals 6 divided by 3 is 2, so y equals 2, and that is our answer. This one had another little step. Next one, 7.5n minus 5n plus 6 equals 16. And draw my barrier wall there. I see here on the left I have some terms that are like that I can combine and clean up. So I have 7.5 minus 5, and that is 2.5n plus 6 equals 16. Now remember, you deal with this number, this 2.5, with the n last. I got to handle this plus 6. So the opposite of adding 6 is subtracting 6 from both sides. So now I have 2.5 n equals 16 minus 6 is 10. Now I can deal with that 2.5. The opposite of multiplying by it is dividing by it. So I'm going to divide both sides by 2.5. Okay. So I have, this one will become an invisible 1, and equals 10 divided by 2.5, and that equals 4. N equals 4. Very good. Next one is b plus 1/3 b plus 2. Ooh, that's an ugly number. 2/3 equals 2. Draw my dividing wall here. On the left side, first I'm going to put invisible 1 there. On the left side, I see I have these like terms that I can combine. 1 plus 1/3 b is 1 1/3 b plus 2/3 equals 2. I got to get rid of this 2/3 first. So instead of adding 2/3, I'm going to subtract 2/3 from both sides. These will zero out and bring down my 1 1/3 b equals, so now I'm going to do 2 minus 2/3, my calculator, and you should get 4/3. Okay, so now I'm going to divide both sides by 1 1/3. And remember how to do this. Do your second ND to be able to do a mixed number. And you should get 1. Very good. Last one. X plus 0.5x minus 3 equals 4.5. Draw my divider wall. Put my invisible 1 there. Once again, I know that I have to combine those like terms there. So 1 plus 0.5 is 1.5x minus 3 equals 4.5. So now I got to deal with this minus 3 first. Instead of subtracting it, the opposite is adding. So I'm going to add 3 to both sides. Those will zero out. So I have 1.5x equals 7.5. Now I got to divide, both sides by 1.5. So x equals, plug it in your calculator, 7.5 divided by 1.5. X equals 5. Very good. And that is combining like terms and multiple step equations all in one.